primarily every businessman thinks that their funding is the most critical aspect of the business, and identifying and finding a funding avenues and sources of funding is one of the most important and paramount job of any business professional. Be it an SME, MSME or a large, everybody requires capital on a perennial and perpetual basis. Having said that, I want to emphasize that this whole focus on funding sometimes, can become very detrimental to the business. We have seen in the past 2 years, if we see an Indian story, especially in startup domain, wherein it was predominantly thought that funding itself becomes a success. By definition, anyone who got funded, thought everybody, congratulated them and thought that this here is a success. But we have seen how many of them have got closed down, how many of them, shutters have got down, some of them are in serious trouble, and so on and so forth. So this whole focus, and you go to any conference or any event, the most sought out people are their VCs or investors, which to my mind is we slightly go overboard. Funding and financing is the important and critical element of a business, but I don't think that it is the most important element of the business, and the kind of focus which we give it to it is made to look like. So I'll open the floor, and I would start from sir about what's happening in the SME finance space. How do you see it post demonetization? How do you see that the kind of startup stories we are witness, the kind of startup stories which has dwindled now? Okay, if we look at the statistics, the funding, the PE, VC funding has gone considerably down. There are no fresh checks which are emanating from Europe and US. Their interest rates will be going up. Okay, so they will have much more domestic market access to invest. So how do you see in whole of this complex architecture and network, how do you think what will happen to India's story? Yeah.
As far as SIDBI is concerned, we are having a number of activities. So relating to the question, I'll focus on the startup scheme. In the startup scheme, we have been in news a couple of months. Government of India has set up a 10,000 crore startup fund with us, and we are giving on to funds of funds. We are the mother fund and we have the daughter funds big fund. So we have done a lot of almost about 80-90 venture capitalists we have supported. Now coming to this question of demonetization, first thing is we find that there is a tremendous potential in the MSME space for the startups to come. And there's enough, the government of India has been supporting in a big way. The DIBP personally, the secretary takes interest in these kind of projects and he's supporting. The tax incentives are coming, tax breaks are coming, ease of doing business is coming. Now demonetization per se is a very small part of it. It's a very, very small part, and I don't think the startups really have to bother because most of them don't deal in cash. And the startup and the demonetization phase is behind us, and it's a matter of time when we look at it as history. Whether it's good or bad, that's a different issue, but we look at it as history. And I'm sure, but personally I feel it's a very good move. So because everything will come in the formal sector. The banks were struggling that things are not in the formal sector. The government was trying, so everything will come to the formal economy. As far as the startup thing is concerned, SIDBI sees a bright spot in the horizon, and we have a lot of aspirations as far as the startup is concerned. In fact, SIDBI has created what is called startupmitra.in, which is a portal for an entire ecosystem we have started. I'm sure probably if you have not visited this website, please do it. We have created an entire ecosystem where the venture capitalists are there, the people who are funding are there, the enterprises are there, what sort of IPRs are there which are there. So it's a lot of things are there in the website and the portal. So as far as SIDBI is concerned, we feel that startups is the way forward, the government is with them, the banks are with them, and we are getting a lot of traction. It's a matter of time where we see a lot of more funding coming in from other quarters. The institutions are also showing interest. We had recently an MOU with LIC for participating with us for the in the funds of funds operation. A lot of institutions are coming.
Is it a myth or a misperception about SIDBI that it is a government fund? in terms of it's a government fund, in terms of it's a de facto and de jure government fund. What I intend to say in terms of functioning and working, that, how is this, I'm sorry for asking you a blunt question, but I just want to clarify it, for the sake of the audience.
Yeah, it's a good question. In fact, we knew these kind of questions will come. So right from the beginning, the government was very clear that this process should be very simple, transparent, and expeditious. So we have a setup of 5 people from the industry, all top people who are there, right from Mr. Pai of Infosys and so many other, Mr. Saurabh Srivastav and others are all there part of it. So it's a very high level team who will do the vetting, who go through the proposals. One more aspect I think I should tell, as bankers, we understand technology to a limited extent. Okay, that is a fact, and there is nothing to hide about. We know we are masters of everything, but we are jack of all and masters of none. So that having said, we require experts, domain experts. So we have domain experts on these committees if some technology comes. So I'll assure you that we are very fast, very quick, and more important, the Government of India, the DIPP, they are very focused and they want more and more proposals considered. So otherwise also SIDBI is a very, very agile and quick institution. It's not a government institution. It's a, of course, it's an act of the parliament, but we have a board driven and all people from various institutions are there. So it's a very, almost like a private sector, and we can be on par with any private sector bank. Of course, we have a focused agro fund is there. Agro projects are coming. Projects in energy efficiency, green energy, and social funds. These are some of the funds which are coming. But most of the funds are service sector oriented. That's what I see right now. But going forward, we are also trying to encourage new other kinds of projects which can come through under this scheme.
Okay, thank you. Let me put question to you. How are things now?
So see, I think there's a lot of mystery about the startup sector, right, and the startup companies. If you very frankly ask me, and the way I approach it, and I've been a banker most of my life before I started doing this, is the principles remain the same, right? Someone is putting capital, he is expecting a return, right? If you are showing him a path to return or actual return, you get more capital. If you are not delivering, you don't get capital, right? So there is no sort of magic wand or any other rocket science going on in a startup as far as capital raising is concerned. What is drawing unnecessary, I won't say unnecessary, but disproportionate attention is the fact that a lot of money in the last 24 months has gone to startups, and especially startups in the e-commerce and internet space, right? And obviously when so much money goes into a particular sector, it will draw a lot of attention. What you need to understand is that by their nature, right, internet businesses would end up being, I won't try to call them monopolistic, but at least they're going to be businesses where 2 to 3 people will emerge, right? And even when someone is investing, he always has it in the back of his mind that I'm going to see a mortality rate in this market, right? And I'm going to see only 2 to 3 players emerge eventually. So, but the general market perception is, oh, everyone is dying, right? The point is, the guy who's putting the capital, or even the guy who's putting his effort as enterprise, was always cognizant that it's a cutthroat, high technology, high mortality business, right? Now, the thing we need to focus on now, and which is also emerging slowly, but is not getting captured enough in the media, is that in every sector, 2 to 3 large players have already emerged, right? Now, you will see a period of lull, if you ask me, over the next 6 to 12 months, where no new financing activity will happen, and people will start writing these sectors off, saying, it was a wave and it's over. But when the next financing cycle happens, it will be at much different valuations, much different sizes, because then money is going behind short businesses.
Yeah. So unpredictability, uncertainty given, but you don't, if I have to be a cynical, you don't see it as an over exuberance or irrationality in the form of maybe valuations.
Yeah, so see, here's the thing. If you look at the financing landscape in India, there are not many domestic funds, unfortunately, which have raised hands for either e-commerce or internet businesses, right? Now, most of the people now coming into India, investing into India, is either funds from US or funds from China. Now, to me, there is a major difference in risk perception, right? The funds in US have seen internet companies come up over last 20 years. The funds in China, again, have seen these internet companies emerge over last 10 years, right? And they see actual value being created, actual leading companies and leading genuine businesses being built in their respective countries. Now, because in India, we've always been short of capital, right? And there has not been one major wave other than, let's say, IT, which has created capital within the country. We don't have that confidence as people who will deploy capital that these businesses can become real businesses, right? Even, for me, on a daily basis, and my dad is a chartered accountant, it is very difficult to try to explain to him that if I am incurring a loss in a particular year, it's actually an investment, because the way we are trained to think, anything which goes into a P&L as a loss item and which is not getting capitalized somewhere is gone, right? Now, the investors overseas have a very different perception of it, right? They're saying as long as you're building either a brand or a customer use case, for me that is asset enough, right? I don't want to see that on your P&L or balance sheet. Now, that can only come when you have seen returns out of it.